and welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow, or subscribe to any of the videos I put out there. Just put them out there where I can and have a holly jolly great time doing so. Now, today's video. I'd like to welcome you back after seeing part 1. We now have part 2 in our little series about joining things up here. So in part 1, we spent a moment there looking at creating from our coastal scene, you can see, to the marshy sort of low salt pan type of area that builds up to where we've put our antenna mast, which of course is drying because that's where we left things at that point in time. And of course, a big special shout out to Goodwood Scenics from the UK, who have provided our antenna mast and some trunking, which we're finally going to start seeing in this section of the video. And of course, on the other side, we needed to make a little bit of a roadway for the utility vehicle who's maintaining that to come through and turn off. Our tree is going back in, and a little bit of linking scenery here to join back to what we had, and cleaning up a few little bits and pieces that were left rather neutral since construction, just to fill in those gaps there. So we come back to it now with a little more detail. So let's just do the quick recap on what we did last time, and then we can get straight into part 2.
So basically, here's where we are. We created that little bit of terrain for where that mast is going to sit. I actually think this turned out really, really well. Here we go. We're using different paints and the different types of dirt, and the texturing just turned out perfectly, I think. Let's get stuck back into it, shall we? So let us return now, and as everything's dried, we'll now tap all that dirt off, and I just take a dry paintbrush and flick it out of all the little nooks and crannies that I had, especially between that stonework and that little tiny piece for underneath the bridge there. And again, just as usual, a bit of static grass just to fill in, and I break it up a bit. We take a bit more now, and just on that little gaps that we've had where the scene's going to join up, we're finally going to put a bit of static grass in to fill it. I'm going to keep it neutral. We're not going to build any mountains or anything. The usual procedure though. We put the glue down, static grass, vacuum to suck it up, recycle, and away we go, although I didn't worry about recycling it. And as you can see, I think it's looking pretty reasonable at this point. That's looking very tranquil. We're going to take a little bit of that Citadel technical agrellan earth there and just blot it around to get some dried up, cracked up muddy puddles. We're not going to add much water to this at all. We're also going to come back with the pastels and just give it a quick scrub with the knife and then a brush to create our wheel tracks that we're going to need for this. And that's looking all right there. So while that's a lovely demonstration, we're obviously not going to use that truck, and I'm not going to lie, I lost a little bit of sleep trying to figure out the exact vehicle I wanted. Thanks to my brother, here's some of the original Telecom Australia work vehicles, and I needed something with a bit more four-wheel drive, of course, and something that's a little bit too old for my liking, although it is an iconic, and I do like the sort of orange look now. Here's the more current type of Toyota Land Cruisers they get around in, and I think that would be a pretty perfect type of image. Whippy antenna, ladders on top. Problem is, though, just when you think you've got it, and this could do, but a bit too old and the wrong colour. Oh, that looks just what we need. However, out of stock, and we won't be seeing anytime soon. Kept noodling. Here's one that even features the additional rollers on the wheel. This looks like it could be quite potential. Again, more of the American ones, but they do have a good look to them. Here's an absolute zippy one that could tick some boxes. And here's an absolute cracker. It's fully illuminated as well, although is that just overcomplicating things a little bit? I like the idea of a rotating beacon. We're going to need to slap a ladder on it, so that's another story. And a couple of others that do fit the bill, but just not really screaming out quite what I need. Also, it's probably going to hide a little bit under the bridge, so you're not going to see everything. So the search carried on, and well, let's see what we're going to come up with. Let's put that aside for a moment now, and we're going to clear up the bridge. It's nice to see it without that tree there. It looks quite refreshing, but we're going to take the whole area up now, each section, give it a good clean up with the vacuum cleaner, get the underneath section of that bridge ready for the road bit to slide into, and we'll start preparing to put this all together now. We've vacuumed, everything all looks nice and clean now, so let's carry on. That is a cracking shot, especially with that tone of light on it. Anyway, let's carry on. What you can't really see going on here is as I put the pieces in, I'm also taking those lengths of trunking and I'm pre-gluing sections together, basically 3 lengths together as one. And I cannot find the video bit I made on that, but we let them dry and then we can start bringing this together. You can see in the middle of the track there, I've just sort of pre-put them together. Now a couple of drops of glue on the bottom and just some weight to hold them down loosely into position. And generally, you can see I tried some drill bits, but you know, as usual, we go back to just grabbing some soda can. The Mountain Dews are currently in the fridge, so it's a bit of vanilla Coke. And we'll just weight things down nicely at the moment. Here we go with the sun rising now. Well, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? We remove those cans off and see where we're at. Looks good. We're going to take a handful of different trees I've accumulated over recent months, and I think you know the story here. We mix it up with the traditional mix. This is a slightly thicker PVA glue mix I keep sealed up in the little bag there, and once again just sprinkling some crushed up leaves. I don't mind saying I nearly burnt the house down on this last one. I forgot to have the oven turned down from 300 degrees to 100 degrees, but live and learn, and the house is still here with a very nice eucalyptus aroma. Thanks for joining me after I nearly burnt the house down after getting some more leaves crushed up and ready. We won't talk about that at the moment. You just saw me brushing on a bit more of a heavier diluted PVA onto the tree bottoms to get the bark to stick. We come back to our standard one we used for ballasting here. As you can see, I did pop some, or you didn't see in the previous footage, I have already put some down. And what we're just up to here, sit it at the top before we plunge our trees in. I didn't use any wet water, but I've got a little bit here. I might just, on that one there, help it bond together. Not sure what the tree was there originally. A little bit running down there. We'll make that work. Do add a little bit of dirt and a little bit of this buff mixed up. Might have actually have been originally from here. I don't think it's too bad. It always breaks the scene up nicely when you get a few little color variations. I like to keep the path a little bit clear so you get the idea of what's going on with just a little tiny tree, little sapling going in there. And while we have the landscaping material out, let's just whiz back in our time machine to video 177 with that 9F and the maroon coaches and correct that little issue while we're here quickly. Let's go and check that next one out. So just coming around the bend now, second radius this actually is, so it's not ideal, but it is getting its way here. Now we're just paying attention here and bang, we've stopped because the box has just hit the dirt. Let me come in for a nice still shot there for you. So sorry Warmington on Sea Home Guard, but this is not your train. Pike, stupid boy, get up on your feet. I think I'm going to actually come back and look at. We did carve it out. We've put some dirt back in and it has been reduced a lot. We'll still detail it a bit more, but I'll come back to that at a later stage. The most important thing is the coach rolls smoothly around and plenty of clearance, not knocking into anything.
What a shot that was.
Lots of good clearance to be had here now. Ooh, and that looks like a striking delivery. Ooh, got him. A bit of a last minute idea here, and it may not be exactly prototypical. This building looks the way it should, but I couldn't help myself, and I ummed and ahed about it, and I decided, you know what, I think we're going to put a bit of the classic British rail stripe on it with the logo. Everything about this is wrong, but somehow it seems right. So I just scaled some down, printed it on, this is actually just printed on regular paper, and I just used a drop of PVA to put it down. I will say that between the expansion joints of the building itself, I did actually pre-cut that. I was just going to run it down with my fingernail or cut it with a knife, but I think you'll agree on the bit that we're all looking at, it looks quite good. The other side that you really don't see, and I'm not going to get great shots on anyway when the train's running, it's not ideal, but you know, at least it's something. So if someone sticks their head in the right corner and say, oh, that doesn't look bad, well, good luck to them.
Underground, overground, wombling free. The wombles of Wimbledon, common are we. Making good use of the things that we find. Things that the everyday folks leave behind.
Ta-da! And welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much for joining me. Just a little bit of a video. I don't have to worry about any of that. A video within the video? How lucky are you? I tell you, you really do get excellent value for money when you tune into my channel, I think. And just like the legendary actor Danny John Jules that plays the cat on Red Dwarf, someone who never seems to run out of enough costume changes, well, that's me as well. You never quite know what I'm going to deliver for you. But why I'm just going to cut into this episode for a minute was just regarding, I keep talking about this little bit of low-lying coastal marshy area that I have here. Now, for those of you that have been following from very early on, I did a little snapshot of how I did this in a little short video I did where I couldn't find the piece of music I wanted, so I just did my own version of the Smashing Pumpkins tribute to Johnny, you know, the sort of anyway, fantastic track. So here we are. But what I just discovered recently was the actual footage time-lapse when I was building it. I've never really used, and I thought, well, there's really no better place to stick it in than right now. So here we are. Join me now in our little mini video to see how we created this.
Process as always, the board was painted brown, and I just took some of that sand I had from Tuggen, but you'll notice it seems raised because I literally put the PVA straight down and didn't sort of brush it around a lot to create these little pools, if you like, tidal pools. And then I've just taken the realistic water from Goodwood Scenics and just poured straight in, knowing that it's going to drink partly through the timber. That works in my favor. Tease it out with a paintbrush so you get that sort of moist sort of edges, and it makes it look quite nice. Quick stuck up with the vacuum cleaner now. Now we're coming back around with the knock glue for doing the static grass, and we're sort of semi-carrying on that sort of the greens and the eerie kind of feeling that we got from that agricultural section just beside us where the wheat was, but we're sort of starting to break it up now, and it's starting to look a little more like this.
Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, no, look, really, that's just what that little section was all about. Let's get back to the main part of the video now. Toodles, stay safe.
Well, our truck hasn't arrived, but the good news is the ladders have arrived. So, I thought, again, for those playing along at home, this is a Bush ladder set HO 7786. And not sure what we're going to do exactly, but I thought we'd take some and give them a lick of paint, and we can rest them on the ladder racks on that truck. Let's check it out. So they give you a few styles, and you can see some are in brown to represent some timber ones. So it's not actually a all bad kit, but the whole idea is most rungs on the other ladders are grey, so we think we're going to have to paint grey first. Glorious day, and I don't have a tripod, but we're going to be using metallic silver grey spray on this one. So got the ladders here, let's give them a quick whip. I love the variety that we've actually got some that have the stays on them so you could put up onto a car or just off a wall or something like that, which works in my favour. And then you've got basically this variety. Let's give them a quick paint. Whoops. Flip them over now to do the other side quickly. Just briefly, for those of you that aren't so big into ladders and things like that with your work, fiberglass ones are what electricians and telecommunications people generally use. Bailey ladders here in Australia, or Werner as they're known in America, which turns out to be the same company. But the Brannock will be our big extension one we'll worry about using. So we'll do that one yellow and keep the colours pretty much as they should be. Well, here's a heartbreaking scenario. And I'm not talking about the state of this room, which, as we've discussed in many other videos, there's a reason. I'm talking about standing here. I had a family member up a few months ago, and this is the first piece of scenery we've cracked on doing since then. Obviously, Faulty Towers was where we've left things, and we're under construction of that hotel. But looking here, if someone walked into the room, the first reaction would be, you've done nothing. Am I right? I am right. Even though we have. And if we come in closer on the shot, it's true. You really don't see anything from that point. So if we come down at that more sort of level like this, yes, but even then you do have to come up and over to spot the work that we've been getting up to. I just thought it was a fascinating little thing because every other piece of scenery you can spot. But that was my point about starting to join up sections now. And I think from the scenic perspective, the next part I'd love to get started on was this situation here behind the signal box, which today I still don't have an answer of what we're going to do. I just know that this is probably the last piece of timber that's exposed, that if we can at least get this going, then we can come along and, as you know, we're going to start to detail the yard and the station work and things like that, and the shed. So plenty more still to be happening. That's just giving you a quick future snapshot update of where we're at the moment.
Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to do it to you, but I think we're going to pull up stumps for the day and call this video done. I say it because I'm only halfway through the content that still needs to go, and we've still got a few little things we need to cover. And of course, I am still waiting on the vehicle that we are going to select to slide into that position. So for the minute, the logical thing to do, otherwise this video is going to exceed half an hour. Let's just stop it now and we'll pick it up as we need to carry on. We're not going to have a break in between. Don't expect to see any other videos in between. I'm literally going to pick it up straight off where we left off and carry on with it. But I really do appreciate you sticking around with me on this one. And as always, please do stay safe. We'll see you in the next one. Toodles!